demons. So, now that I have your attention, welcome to the third installment of Ask a Ghost Hunter. Not all ghosts are made the same. As always, I am your host, ghost hunter and author Rick Hale. So, for the last couple episodes, we've talked about, how all ghosts are not made the same. That's kind of a generalized way of putting it, but it's very true. You have intelligent haunts, ghosts that can interact with you and are well aware of what's going on around them. And you also have stone tape theory, or more popularly known as residual haunts, where this is a ghost that just sort of goes about its business, doesn't interact, doesn't really know what's going on, but it's like as if it's a recording in a physical environment that is somehow put out there for people to experience. And then, of course, we went into poltergeist. Poltergeist not really being a ghost at all, rather aggressive pent-up psychic energy that gets pushed out into the open environment and can cause all kinds of chaos and havoc. Even things like fear and even physical harm have been recorded in poltergeist activity, and now that brings us up to our third and final episode of Not All Ghosts Are Made the Same, and of course, that being demons. So, I've been on a lot of shows over the years, a lot of podcasts, a lot of radio shows, and the question inevitably does come up. Rick, in your experience as a paranormal investigator and researcher, ghost hunter, whatever you choose to call it, have you ever really come across anything that you could say was a demon? And it's one of those things that I don't really have to give a whole great deal of thought to. And the answer to that is no. I've never come across anything that I could point my finger at and say, yep, that's one of Satan's minions that's here to cause nothing but chaos and havoc and to destroy lives. Never come across that. And I've been investigating ghosts and hauntings since 1991. So I'm going on my 35th year, starting off at 17, and now here I am at 52. And I've never come across anything that I could say was a demonic entity. I've come across a lot of malicious human spirits, and really their behavior can probably be even called demonic or evil. I'm a real big believer in the fact that if you were a completely miserable asshole in life, your status of being breathing impaired, that's not going to change. You're still going to be that miserable asshole that you were in life in death. And a lot of hauntings that you hear about that are true hauntings or apparitional hauntings, intelligent hauntings, to use a term in television. I've come across a lot of that, and people were afraid that they had some kind of demonic entity in their home, and it turned out just to be, some miserable old ghost that just wanted to cause them problems. So where does the popularity of this personification of evil in demonic entities come from? Well, prior to the popularity of television shows, traditional parapsychology really didn't center on that at all. For those of us who are more grounded in traditional parapsychology, we were more interested in survival of the intelligence after the death of the body, as well as, psychic ability, that of course being a huge umbrella for things like, extrasensory, things like ESP, clairaudience, clairvoyant abilities, as well as precognition. Those are the things that traditional parapsychology are more involved in. But this belief in demonic entities, especially nowadays, has pretty much always been there, especially with the work of Ed and Lorraine Warren going back to the 50s, when, pretty much every malicious or unpleasant spirit to them was a demonic entity. And let's face it, that's just not the case at all. However, leading up to today, this interest in the demonic really has a lot to do more with the television shows. Things like shows like Ghost Adventures or Paranormal State, where people with a more of a religious filter were involved, especially in Paranormal State, not so much in Ghost Adventures. That was just, cast members exploiting people's personal beliefs and trying to make a buck off of that. That's really just all it is. I would never go out and say demons don't exist. I think that would be a very foolish statement. That would be one of those kind of things where it's like, I don't really know what is on the other side of this life, what is in the spiritual realm. I don't know enough to say that, but I do know enough to say that not every malicious or unpleasant spirit that you come across is going to be demonic. I'm not a religious person, therefore I don't accept the idea that Satan or Satan's minions exist. I don't necessarily believe in that. However, I will say this. I do believe that there is a lot of precedence to show that inhuman spirits are in fact real. Not necessarily demonic. And the reason that I come at this idea is based in history. So when the Christian church was just becoming a real powerhouse across Europe, political as well as religious, they would roll into these other countries, like Celtic and pagan countries, and they would preach the gospel, oftentimes at the tip of a sword, and they would take their gods and their goddesses and demonize them. Take, for example, in Celtic lands, they would take the old crone goddess and turn her into what we know as the witch, or Cernunnos, who was the god of the hunt, had red skin, great horns sticking out of his body. Of course, that is where we got the idea of what Satan looks like, even though the Bible clearly does state that Satan appears as an angel of light. The only thing about Satan is he still looks like an angel. He just lost his glory, and that is where we get our idea of Satan today, from this ancient Celtic god. And they would take all of their fairies and all of their fae folk and all of their lesser gods and turn them into demons. And I do believe that because this belief was so strong in Celtic lands, that they were able to give these beliefs a power. I don't know if it has something to do with ancient muck that was left over from the start of the world that made these things, but I think that there is a great deal of precedence that shows that elementals in these older religions, these older ways, became demonic entities. And I really did not make religious-based phenomenon a part of my study. I had to incorporate that later on to clear up a lot of problems that the television shows did in fact bring up. You see, like television shows like Ghost Adventures, where your hosts would walk into a place and they would come across something violent, something malicious, something horrible, and all of a sudden call it a demon. That's really just not the case at all. Were they dealing with inhuman entities? It's a possibility, but I doubt it. I doubt that they were dealing with anything of that nature. I do believe that they were dealing with more of a malicious human spirit that did not have their best interests at heart. And we do see a lot of that in paranormal investigation and research, ghost hunting, if that's what you choose to call it. When I go on an investigation, the last thing I want to do is go in and scare the shit out of people that live in their homes. I want to give them answers. I want to investigate appropriately. If they have something malicious that's in their home, I don't want to, add to the fear. I want to alleviate that fear and replace it with assertion and power over what it is that they have in their home or in their place of business. That is the business that I, as a ghost hunter, am in. I don't want to frighten them. I have had a few investigations where I had gone into a home, and people, their first question was, "Do I have a demon?" And the answer is no. You either don't have anything at all, you have something that is completely normal and natural, or you have a malicious human spirit that is just out to make your life miserable. And I think that is what we as paranormal investigators and researchers have to do. We have to demystify that mystery and alleviate that fear of the unknown. I don't think that making them be afraid of what is in their home is really a great idea at all. So when it really comes down to it, are demons real? I don't believe that demons are real in the biblical aspect of the term. I do believe that there is a possibility that these are inhuman entities, which an inhuman entity really is an entity that has never walked the earth in human form. And I know that a lot of people are going to be like, well, that's just tomato, and it's like, that may very well be true, because I really just don't know enough about the spiritual realm to say that demons don't exist. I'm just here to say that if they do exist, not everything you come across is going to be something that is, evil, that is from the very pits of hell, that is demonic. And I've gone over this in a previous Ask a Ghost Hunter, where I talked about exorcism and stuff, and stuff like that. I really just very strongly would warn against people looking for that kind of thing. And you do have people that do that. They go out looking for demonic entities or inhuman entities, and the only question that I have to ask is, why would you go looking for something that could completely and utterly destroy your life and would have no problem doing it whatsoever? So I really do caution you to stay away from that kind of thing. If I were to go on an investigation and I believe that there is something there that is inhuman, I would tell the people that live in that home or own that business, it would be better for you to call a priest or a rabbi or a shaman or any other kind of religious leader, depending on what religion you are involved in, to contact them first and see what it is that they believe. And I went over that once before, because here in the United States, we go after more of a Western Christianized idea of what demons are. It would be so much better to go talk to your priest, your rabbi, or your pastor before engaging this entity, which really could completely, it can fuck you up. Pardon my language, but it could. So I just want to warn you not to go looking for that kind of thing. Talk to the proper authorities when it comes to if you think you have something that is demonic or inhuman, because let's face it, a lay parapsychologist like myself or a ghost hunter, we are not going to be equipped regardless of what you see on these television shows. So that's my spiel when it comes to demons. Be very cautious out there, ghost hunter. Be very cautious out there, paranormal investigator, because you really don't know what it is that you are dealing with. So thank you so much for listening and watching this third and final installment of Not All Ghosts Are Made the Same. Next time when I come back, I'm going to have something, a totally new topic for us to discuss, and I hope that you like it, because I think it's really important for us to learn from each other, because that is how we sharpen our skills as paranormal investigators and ghost hunters. So until next time, as always, remain spooky, my friends. I'm Raquel. This was Ask a Ghost Hunter.